Hey, what's up, guys? DOI Duelist here, back at you again with more Yang Zing nonsense. And today, I've got a budget list for you. I know a lot of you guys wanted a budget list. You wanted something that's a bit more affordable, like what are some replacements for certain cards. And I understand why a lot of people felt like that. You know, in my previous video, we already had the Appaloosa IP, and now we're running like triple souls, and it's like, damn, that's a pretty penny, and I wouldn't blame someone for not wanting to make that kind of financial investment in a deck, right? Especially if they want to play casually or something like that. So I decided to make a budget list, and this is the result. Played some games with it, have some replays for you, standard affair. And I just wanted to cover with you the changes I made, why I made those changes, and how that affects how the deck is played from my previous videos and replays that I've shown. So right away, obviously no souls, no war off Thou. That's just a given. I don't really plan on buying souls in real life until there's a price drop, as many other people. And instead, we're running triple Vishuda instead of the one Vishuda, right? And the reason why we're running three Vishuda is because just like souls, it's also a combo enabler, right? If you have any Yang Zing plus any Metalfoes, any floating Yang Zing at least, then right there you have like full board, right? With that combo I showed I think like 2 videos back, right, where you make the backseat and stuff, and that's still really powerful, still really useful. And it's just a good card in general. It's amazing removal. We've seen in plenty of formats and like played by Orcust and like danger variants and stuff that Vishuda is pretty good. It's like a spell speed 1 compulse that still keeps you a monster, right? That's pretty powerful. It's a pretty good interaction. And not to mention, it's live with Metalfoes, not just the Link 110, right? So that's why we're running 3 of this guy. He's just kind of a buffer. And the reason why I only ran 1 in my previous list is because it kind of conflicted with souls, right? If you had like souls and Vishuda, that's just like less space in your hand to draw like the Yang Zings or Metalfoes you need. And they both kind of have the same like requirements for the most value, with the floating Yang Zing and Metalfoes, and the fact you have to get 2 of those and 3 cards left is like, just made it awkward. So I played 1 to just have that Yazi combo because I'm telling you guys, that Yazi combo is insane, dude. Literally nuts. Oh my god. Popping a card, spinning 2, summoning this guy again, it's crazy. I think I've talked about it before. I have a replay now because of my previous video. I didn't have one, but now I have it for this one. And man, I love that interaction. It's awesome. But basically, that's it for the main list. I mean the main deck, right? We're playing 3s on Bow Wow because now that we have a lot less cards, I could beef up a lot of the ratios, because playing souls and war off down stuff kind of like squeezed the deck a bit, made me have to cut the ratios a bit down. It squeezed it together, and I just couldn't justify running like these extra Yang Zing targets with Zon Bow Wow, right? Because it's just we're running less war off dials in that list. I don't want to cover too much on that list because we're talking about this list, but basically we have more space. We want to fill out the ratios a bit more, so we're playing 3s on Bow Wow, and these changes make this deck operate a little differently from the really expensive list, because this list is probably a little bit better going second, just solely due to the fact that we have 3 Vishuda, and it's a shoot, it's removal, it's pretty free, and also it's a little easier. It's significantly easier to do that the 18 Imbiru board, since we're running more Zon Bow Wows, and that fulfills like 2 different requirements by itself, by getting Chi in the graveyard and summoning Yang Zing. But besides that, main list, basically the same thing we've seen before. If you wanted to make this list a bit cheaper, you could replace the Ash with like a different tuner hand trap like Valor for the Chao Fang play, because that definitely would make this list less than 70. It's just that like if you played Valor can't be used under Herald of Arclight like Ash can, and I'd much prefer playing Ash. And most people I think would have an Ash by now. It's not like super expensive. Play this game long enough, you'd end up picking up at least 1, I think. So if you're building it from scratch, you want to make it as cheap as possible, replace the Ash with a Valor. But if not, Ash is just It's the objectively better choice for a couple of reasons, you know. So on to the extra, I think is pretty interesting. We're running the Tenyi link, and the reason why is because we have extra space. Basically, this would be Electromite, I think. Like pre-ban list, this would be Electromite. But, or this would actually be Appaloosa, because in the old list we're running Abomination and Appaloosa. And so cutting up Appaloosa and just running this as the target for like the Link 4 play means that we just, we're running 3 Vishuda. If we draw, we want to make it live without having to like normal summon a Metalfoes, so we're running this thing. And it's not like it's a free arrow, right? I mean, it's not bad. And there's no reason not really to run it. Just its inherent value with Vishuda, that's just. If you want to replace this with something else, maybe you don't value the Vishuda balance for like going second and stuff, because it doesn't come up super often, because it would only come up if like really like past turn 1 you're gonna have a normal monster easily accessible for Vishuda in the graveyard, so you have no need to really make this. You can't make it outside of Vishuda, so that's just, for me, I would just run the Tenyi because I just run the monk because I would like to make it live as easy as possible with as little commitment as possible too. And then we replace the IP with Beat Cop because it's the least expensive generic Link 2 that's still an effect monster. You don't want to run Lanphalinkus because like if you need to make Boral Sword with your Link 2, it's Lanphalinkus, it's a non-effect. You can't make your Boral Sword with it, and that kind of sucks. You also, I guess it's really Boral Sword. That's about it. Like Lanphalinkus, but Boral Sword's a strong card. I want to be able to summon as my Link 2s if I make a big Pendulum summon or something. So it comes up. It's relevant. If you can, the biggest thing about dropping IP is that hands where you don't open any Yang Zings and stuff that makes a board a lot more awkward, right? Because Yang Zings are pretty. To make a lot of your stronger boards, you need at least like one floating Yang Zing, minimum. And IP still made you able to make like extra disruptions, even if you didn't have a Yang Zing, right? Which is why I think it's really important. If you can only buy like one expensive extra deck monster between like Appaloosa or IP, definitely IP is something that I would really consider because, it came up. I definitely felt the loss of IP playing this list and replays and stuff, and And another option is if you want to meet halfway, playing like IP or playing like Lambda and having like Gamma as a tuner target instead, like for the Chaofeng play, instead of Ash. You could also do that. There's a lot of different things you can do with this list depending on what kind of price budget you want. But in my opinion, running IPs or generic Link 2 just makes your deck a lot more flexible with making your turn 1 boards, right? Because you could do like Chaofeng plus like Metalfoes counter set with 9 pillars and IP, and now you'll have like 3 different disruptions because you'll have the pillars, the hand trap search, and like a unicorn on their turn. That's just really powerful. And then the only other change we made is I guess that's about it really, because we were already playing Abomination, but instead of making like all the combos are the same, but instead of making Appaloosa, you're making Abomination. And the reason why is because back row decks are becoming a lot more relevant now besides Spiral. Even though this is actually pretty good against Spiral, but let's say like they have back row and you use pillars to like negate like a Marionette normal summon or like Guru flip search. Because you're destroying a Yang Zing, it will proc Abomination and you get to destroy a card on the opponent's board, right? And that's just having that extra value, and then the end phase search as well or something, or if they attack over your Yang Zing, you get to pop after that too. It's pretty good. I think overall having Appaloosa be better, but really like maybe I don't know. They're on the same tier of effective interruption overall. There are times where Abomination effect doesn't really come up. Like the end phase pop almost always come up because like if the opponent's passing with no cards on the board, then that's pretty sick. But like you'll definitely feel kind of the loss of having like less negates than usual, and you're gonna have to be a lot more smarter with your 9 pillars and your herald. And another thing I like to point out is that, let's say like there was no other card on the field, like let's say they just activate a spell or like mind control or something, and you pillars, but the abomination had nothing to pop on the opponent's board. So what you can just do is just make the herald, and if they activate like a monster effect on the board and have a spell on the field, like let's say they activate Lost World, and then they normal summon Oviraptor, and then you negate. Well, I guess you can't in that scenario. I guess you can't. But let's say you negate a monster on the board, and that monster destroyed with herald effect. That will proc abomination. All right. So you have 2 different intervals where you can get the abomination pop. If the pillars didn't work out, then the herald's also an opportunity. But keep in mind that if you negate a spell or a trap being flipped up with herald, it will not activate abomination effect because it wasn't destroyed on the field. It was destroyed in like some unspecified location because the activation was negated. So it was never activated. It would never hit the board. It wasn't destroyed on the board. So abomination, that's a proc. So I just like, I think that's pretty cool replacement for Appaloosa. I mean, before I thought about Abomination, I was thinking like, what could you replace Appaloosa with that was equally as good? I was thinking like number 38. Not really. I mean, that's like 1 negate versus like the 4 you're losing. But Abomination is like 2 different pops, right? And that's pretty valuable compared to like maybe. Even though I say Appaloosa is better, I mean, and realistically, you're not getting all the monster negates out of it. You're going to get like 1 or 2, and then it's going to be destroyed by battle or something. So, I think it's similar amount of value. And then for the side deck, I would just leave the side deck up to you guys. Like, it's your own personal preference and based on your own price range. If you already have a couple staples that you're really comfortable with playing in this deck or something, or other decks, then you could side those. This is just the side I went with. It's probably not even gonna. I mean, it might change depending on how the meta and the format develops. But right now, I'm a lot of spiral hate and a lot of back row hate is what I have right now, and I think that's a pretty safe prediction. Really, I'm thinking Guru Altergeist. It's gonna be pretty meta. That's my prediction. But like I said, it's all up to you. And beyond that, like all the combos you do in my previous videos are basically 1-to-1. The only ones that are different are probably like the IP, obviously, like the IP combos and stuff. But a lot of overlap. That's the cool thing about this budget list. You're gonna have a lot of overlap in terms of plays and stuff. So let's just get right into the replays. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay, I was scared for a second it didn't pop up. So I was playing with the budget list, right? This is it's probably, whoops, freaking update pings. But this is the budget list, right? See here, we have the Shaman. There's no Appaloosa. So we're just playing against. I think we go first, right? And we're playing against like freaking Blue Eyes, Chaos Max, whatever, like. And we're able to just combo off. Just the standard stuff you see. Pop Chi-Win, get the fusion for the draw, so that you can discard the draw for Shaman. Stuff like that. We were able to use the Bixie as a tuner because, well, not as a tuner, but because we made Zephrani a tuner, we're able to do this play. And then right there, another cool thing about Abomination is that since it's any 2 monsters, it's kind of the same requirements as like Appaloosa, like 2 or more, but you could just use, like, let's say you had a Link 2 plus freaking Shaman, like let's say that comes up, you just use 2 monsters. You don't have to use 4 materials to get the most value out of the Abomination. There's actually more value to use less materials. In this situation though, I did misplay. I did a misplay. I shouldn't have left Jiaotu on board because in case his Blue Eyes player or something, or this, like, I don't know, he's Blue Eyes, right? I don't know he's playing Blue Eyes, but let's say he main deck Super Poly. Normally our boards aren't super polyable, but in this scenario, I accidentally did make the board super polyable, which is a big misplay. Pretty significant. But I just wanted to have, because this allows you to have the backside on the opponent's turn play, because we just summoned Zephrani from deck, Chi-Win from grave, and then pulled out Quicksand from the Baxia. But we didn't have to summon the Jiaotu. is what I'm saying. And I think just to keep that in mind, make sure you keep the attributes in your head, so that you're not like super polyable for Mud Dragon or super polyable for like Starving Venom. Just keep that in mind. And me, obviously, I just want to negate the trade-in because trade-in's like free. It's a free +1 negate basically. No reason not to negate it really, unless I know he has some card in hand I really want to negate. I go for the Herald because since I'm playing as Blue Eyes, he could be using the Foolish Burial or Dragon Shrine or something, and it's just better as an Omni negate in general. I let him resolve this bingo machine because I don't know. I rarely negate 1-for-1 searchers anyway. I don't think you should do that. I want to prevent him from summoning Chaos Max on board in general because I don't want to deal with it. You can out a Chaos Max. If he did summon Chaos Max, I would die, but no reason for me to let him resolve it. And in this duel, the Abomination pop didn't really come up for the 9 pillars, but in the end phase, I did get to pop the freaking Land for Linkus. And you can see we're just cleaning up. It's basically game. It's already over. Like, if we have like link zones, and we kept the Ying Zing, like it's super death, super dead. And I summoned the freaking Herald in case like for some reason he had Nibiru or something like that, just to outplay. But it didn't matter. Didn't come up. He's dead. Good game. Not really a good replay. I just kept this just to show that the combos are basically the same. We're just replacing Appaloosa with Abomination for that list. So there's that. Next, we've got playing against Altergeist. This is not the order I wanted to show it in, but it just came up anyway. This is actually the expensive list. The reason why I'm showing this is because I don't know if it's one person or a couple, but some people wanted to see replays against the meta, and this is against Altergeist, and I think Altergeist are meta. In this format, I think the top 3 are like Spiral, Altergeist, probably Guru. I mean, that's the unpopular. That's a controversial opinion, but I think Guru is definitely up there. And this is how the most optimal expensive list plays against Altergeist. But we couldn't really. What did we do? This is a very interesting hand, right? This is kind of like I do a lot of replays, so it's kind of hard to remember all of them. But this is the interesting board. This is the IP for Unicorn or something. If he normal summoned a freaking, I would probably IP Unicorn a normal summoned like, what's his name, Meloseek, right? We have like 3 different interruptions here. It's pretty strong, especially if I consider going into the Appaloosa, which I end up doing. Because I just wanted to go into it because he was attempting to enter battle phase. Better for him to try and attack into Herald than actually destroy my IP and get no value out of it. So I just make the Appaloosa. I let him resolve Village because I already have scales, right? And so the worst thing that he could really do is like, I don't know, Duster, like Solemn Strike or something. But even then, I could just attack over the Marionetter and just do stuff main phase 2. I didn't really feel threatened by a turn 2 Village. But I tried to prevent him from getting multi-faker access, and unfortunately it just didn't work out because he just hard drew the faker like a complete boss, right? He tries to negate. He does negate my Appaloosa on his freaking. And I did misplay. This is a misplay. Did it? No, it wasn't a misplay. But he did try and negate Appaloosa, and surprise, surprise, can't be destroyed by card effects. His IP is busted, right? It's an amazing card, and so now I get to keep my Appaloosa, to not really negate anything because I can't negate anything because he has a Silkwoodes, but we just go straight to the battle phase, force the Silkwoodes, destroy all of his freaking stuff, and then we just have negates again. And he has no. And if he top deck like Extravagance or something, he would have to normal summon the Marionetter just to activate it. So his own village going against him. So that's how this. That's how the expensive version of this deck operates. Against like a meta deck. I tried to find a Spiral player in YGO Pro, but that's just kind of hard. Didn't really work out. So I didn't really want to show this in this order. I had another replay with the budget list here, and I wanted to show this replay, but I guess got the order mixed up. I didn't know how OBS would respond to me closing tabs. If you guys know how OBS registers, which tabs to switch to when you close them, I thought it was order of like when they were opened or something, but I don't know. So this hand you can see wasn't super good. This is another one of those scenarios where if I had IP, we'd be able to make a little bit of a better board. I mean, not really. I guess not really. I guess not having IP didn't really matter. I go for the Chow Fang even though I did hard draw the Ash because I wanted to get Yang Zing access, the floating Yang Zing access. I wanted to draw into or search Chi-Win because then if I had Chi-Win, I would, be able to do synchro plays with stuff like that. I think it was just higher value to get Yang Zing access from Pillar Zing, the Chow Fang. And also if he just randomly played Earth Monsters or something, he was playing like a rock deck or something or Subterra Guru, you never know. So just two different reasons why I went for the Chow Fang in this scenario, even though I had the Ash. Activates Extravagance, bam, Ash it, and then he sets 5 cards, and that's pretty scary. I thought I was playing against like some weird stun deck or something, or I don't know, but I didn't really guess Altergeist wasn't really the first thing that came to mind, and it was so frustrating. I top decked the Metalfoes fusion. That is awful. I literally would have been able to like out his board. Well, not maybe like out it, but like I would have been able to do so much by just popping the combination, getting fusion, activating counter. So much cool stuff, right? But because I top decked this freaking fusion, dude, literally the worst. It would have been better if I didn't draw at all. Like he just freaking skipped my freaking draw phase or something. But because of that, to go straight to battle phase, tries to compulse the Chow Fang. He says no to my no, so I guess to resolve. I penned one. He judgments it, and right now we're in a pretty crappy situation, right? We can't use our Metalfoes engine at all, and man, what a taunting top deck. Draw Yang Zing when we have Metalfoes, and this so frustrating. I was so mad in this scenario. And just to verify, this is budget list. I was doing games and replays with the budget list, right? So he has the Spook Scene, he has the multi-faker. Very frustrating. At this point I was like, fuck, what could I do? And then he left the multi-faker in attack position. I guess it's not really a misplay. I guess it's not really incorrect to leave the multi-faker in attack position. I mean, he knows I'm playing Metalfoes Yang Zing, so maybe it'd be better to summon it in defense so I can't crash into it, but that's just what ends up happening. I get to crash into it, bang. I get the Metalfoes counter, dude. I get to finally get the fusion summon by summoning Zephyr and stuff like that. Put him in circulation. Get to establish the Chi-Win. I get to force the Silkwidis. There's a lot of cool stuff. Bam, get to resolve it. Try to use combination to revive a guy, but he has the Imperm column to negate the combination. He gets to resolve multi-figure again. Doesn't matter though, because now we get to do the awesome Chad Yazi play I was telling you guys about if you play Vishuda. Right? So bam, we have Yazi on board and Chi-Win engrave. So right there, he's like losing his entire board. Had another impermanent, didn't matter because we had Yazi, can't be targeted. We go for the Baxia because as I was describing, Vishuda, Worm, level 1 tuner Chi-Win, do the math. I mean, it's just so much value. And then right here, I could have gone for Shaman, but I just wanted to make a Baxia a second time. So I just went for the Beat Cop. And he's not having any cards. Nope, sirree, no cards today. He's losing all of them. He lost his entire board just like that, just for me resolving Yazi with Chiwin Engrave. He just lost everything. And that's so freaking... I cannot stress enough how super high impact that is. And then we have a negate. We have the Abomination for any back row. It's over, basically. I let him resolve the Marionetta because whatever he sets is going to be popped. And I was kind of hoping he would attack into my Ying Zing to proc Abomination. And he does. And that's sick. That's just free value. Boom. Negate, bam. Another cool thing about Abomination is Divine Strike does proc him if you negate a monster effect on the board. Right? Just same thing with Herald of Arclight. If you negate a spell or trap that was activated, then that's not being considered destroyed on the field, so I won't proc Abomination. But just remember to negate monster effects on the board if you want to use Abomination effect with Zephyr Divine Strike or Herald. But at this point, basically game, we don't even Pendulum Summon. We have so many cards. There's no reason to even Pendulum Summon. And it's just, boom, make the Herald in case of the Nibiru. Always play around the Nibiru. That card is scary, very terrifying. Even though we had the Divine Strike technically, and I don't know. We already have the outplay for Nibiru. So, yeah, and that was it. So I just wanted to show that you can play this deck budget. You don't really need the Apollousa. It's nice. You don't really need the IP, even though that's really nice. And I would stress that there's any expensive card you could afford. You can play without IP. You can make boards without IP. I guess it's not super necessary because checking the price, it's almost $60 right now. I picked him up I picked her up when she was 17. So I'm a little biased. But yeah, that's how the budget list for this deck works. That's how it operates. Basically the same thing. You just have a lot better matchup probably against back row decks, which is why I'm running up Abomination in my normal list even. So I guess it's not better. It's just you'll have a good matchup against back row decks, and that's pretty good. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. Comment if you have any questions or any improvements. I'm planning on probably writing a script for these videos at some point. Maybe the next video, I don't know. Because I realize I say a lot of ums and long pauses, and that's a little distracting from all the information I'm trying to share to you guys. I kind of slur a little bit, when I'm talking really fast. I get that from people too. I understand that. I'm going to try and improve on that and try and make these videos as high quality as possible. Maybe add music, I don't know. I talked about that before, but I don't know. A lot of back and forth. But thanks for watching. Discord in the description for more Yang Zing theory. Yeah, that's about it. Peace out.